Polymer 80's injunction has been stayed. Let's go ahead and talk about it. What's up, Wolverines? Welcome back to the channel. My name is John Crump and I'm an investigative journalist. If you can do me a big favor, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment anything you want down below because it's all engagement, and engagement is key to beating the algorithm. And if I get trending, I can get my voice out there, which means more people will learn about the different things in the 2A community that is going on. Also, after you watch this video, head over to thegundies.com and vote for me for top voices of the 2A. As always, I will link it down below in the description. This video deals with the frames and receiver rule that the ATF actually put in place, even though it's probably unconstitutional. Before we get to where we are today, let's go ahead and back up. President Biden ordered the ATF to pass a regulation banning 80% frames and receivers, and the ATF did just that. Originally, they banned blanks with jigs and tools, but then on December 27th, 2022, the ATF sent the letter out saying, just kidding, all unfinished frames are now considered firearms and need to be serialized, and you need to go through a background check to take possession of them, which was totally different from what the rule actually said. A bunch of different companies sued, and the major case was Vanderstock versus Garland. Vanderstock versus Garland was a FPC case, and it involved 80% Arms, JSD Supply, and a bunch of other different manufacturers that sued over the frames and receivers rule. It went up to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, where they won and got an injunction. The ATF was not happy about that, so they went to SCOTUS and asked SCOTUS to stay the injunction until SCOTUS could decide whether to grant what's called a writ of certiorari. A writ of certiorari, or writ of cert, means that the ATF will petition the Supreme Court to hear the case, and the Supreme Court will agree to hear the case. So what happens is, if the Supreme Court grants the writ of cert, the injunction will stayed until the Supreme Court decides on the case. If they decide not to grant a writ of certiorari, the injunction automatically goes back into place and frames flow immediately around the country. There is another case called Polymer 80 versus Garland, and there was an injunction in that case as well. When the Vanderstock decision got stayed, the Polymer 80 case did not get stayed. What that meant, since Polymer 80 did not have a stay against their injunctions, they were free to sell their kits to whoever they wanted. The ATF was not happy about that, so they went back to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and asked the Fifth Circuit to stay their own preliminary injunction until the Supreme Court could decide whether to grant a writ of certiorari in the Vanderstock case. Of course, Polymer 80 objected to this and filed a motion in opposition to the motion for a stay. Now we know what happened. On November 30th, which I missed and everyone else missed, thank you for the person that gave me this because I really appreciate it, but I think they want to remain anonymous. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals said that they were going to stay their own injunction until the Supreme Court can decide whether to hear Vanderstock or not. Now, if the Supreme Court decides not to grant a writ of cert in Vanderstock, that would mean that the injunction will go back in effect. Or if the Supreme Court decides in favor of Vanderstock, if they decided to grant a writ of cert, then the injunction would stay in effect, but at that point it would really be pointless because Vanderstock would vacate the rule. So as of right now, there is no injunction that's in place for any 80% arms manufacturers on the planet. So right now we are back to the rule being in full effect, which means that the original 80% kits are now once again verboten. Whether the bridge frame is verboten or not, the bridge frame is a workaround that Polymer 80 developed. So it is not an 80% firearm. It actually requires more work. So it falls outside the rule. Whether the ATF goes after that or not, we will have to wait and see. This is not good news, but it is also not the end of the world. In the end, I think we're going to be successful and the complete rule will be vacated. Until then, we just have to wait a little bit and support companies like Polymer 80, support companies like JSD Supply and 80% Arms, Defense Distributed, and all the other companies out there that sell 80% parts and kits so they can stay afloat and weather this storm, because in the end they are fighting not only for their own survival, but they are fighting for my rights, they are fighting for your rights, and we have to show them love and support. So go ahead and do that. I think the ATF is overstepping their boundaries, and I think they're violating the Administrative Procedures Act and also the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. I believe it will be knocked down. This is definitely abuse of Chevron deference, and I think the Supreme Court is going to take action against them. I do not believe that the ATF will be successful going forward with any of these rules. But like I always say, you never know what's going to happen in the courts until it does happen. So I could be wrong about that, but I wanted to get this information out there to the general public so they know what is going on, because an informed society is a great society that can fight back against unconstitutional rules and laws that want to strip you of your rights. All right, guys, that is it. This should be my last video of the day. We have John Crump Live coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern over on John Crump Live. Tune in and see who we have on as a guest. Honestly, I don't know. Rich knows. I don't know. I haven't looked yet, but I will. All right, guys, stay ever vigilant, stay ever free. Buy Masters of Firepower, available at Amazon. It's right there. It's a great book, and it makes a great Christmas present. On Wednesday, I have more copies coming in so I can sign them. So if you want a signed copy, let me know now so I can reserve you one before they all go again. All right, guys, stay ever vigilant, stay ever free, keeping the fight. I'm out of here, Wolverines, mother.